All right, it looks like we are live. Okay. I'm feeling good. It's day two in 2025. Mm. All right. So here's what I'm doing. I'm testing out the multi-stream situation, YouTube, Twitch, and X on today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a recap of a live stream I did on LinkedIn yesterday, just to test out and see how things are going. I have a hunch. I think that, and you know what? It's not even a hunch. We know that there's certain types of content that's more effective, that can be optimized better on certain platforms. And I have a feeling this is where the hunch comes in. I think that Twitch might be the spot where a lot of people aren't really talking about business, and in my case, storytelling. And I get it because it's widely known and heavily used for gaming and maybe music. But maybe I could do some disruption, kind of break into the Twitch market that way. My assumption is that the people that try to or are doing business related stuff, they just might be terrible, y'all. Like they don't really know how to connect, right? So that's what I'm gonna do, and I think I think it might work. I don't know, y'all. I think it might work. So let's just see. Let's just see how it all works out. Okay, so I'm gonna do the quick recap of what I talked about yesterday. This is kind of like a trial run, but it also is going to be helpful for the three platforms that we're on today. So the first thing that we talked about was just making better decisions. I had a great conversation with a good friend yesterday, and as a matter of fact, I had three good conversations. But the first, the one that stood out the most, was talking about core values. So he asked me about what core values means to me, like how would I define it? And I said it's how you show up in the world. It's the lens through which you view people, through which you view experiences, just life. And so we actually looked it up yesterday, what core values actually means. I'm going to actually look it up right now again, just so that we can all be on the same page here. And what did we say core values were? A set of principles that guide your attitudes, behaviors, and decisions. This is how you show up in the world, y'all. They're basic, important values that are inherent and sacrosanct and should never be compromised. Sacrosanct is a big word. I've heard the word, but I've never used the word for myself. It basically means sacred. I probably could have pulled that one out. Yeah, sacred, respected. Okay, so that's what core values are. Right, these non-negotiables. But here's the thing: with my core values, I keep them fluid. So one of the things that I did, and you're probably like, "What are you talking about keeping them fluid?" I keep them flexible enough so that if something changes, my experience changes and causes me to think about things differently, then I'm willing to flex. Maybe not throw away the value, but flex on the spectrum of maybe what I am on with that value. I don't know if that computes. So let's bring it back. So I said one of the things that we could do, right? A great hack to find out what your core values are. I did this work about 10 years ago, and this is why I'm thinking about updating my values. And maybe that's what I'm really talking about as far as making it flex. Maybe it's my list of values. Sometimes there are values that are no longer relevant to where you are and who you've evolved into. And then sometimes you need to add. I've got like about 4 right now. And like I said, I've done the deep work before, and it's based on competence, creativity, curiosity, and progression. Everything that I did and that I show up in life has been around those 4 values. But it was only until last year I started to realize that those values are just for me, which is okay, personal, like personal development and growth, but not necessarily for how I show up in relationships or how I show up in um, business. Yeah. Finance, maybe physical fitness, probably. But the point is, there are other things that I do believe and that I really um, uh, would 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 value. Can I say things values that I would value? So, for instance, like emotional intelligence and communication. That's a huge one, right? And that is not in my core 4, but perhaps it is under the subset, right? Maybe it could be under competency. Y'all see? So there are different ways that you can even uh, start to map out the kind of values that you have. Maybe 4 is enough. And then you have a subset of values based on the domain that you're operating in, or maybe the environment, right? Or you just have like a set of 20, and 20 can also be core. So I think it's subjective of what core really means. For me right now, what I'm doing is I'm taking my core four competence, which is really around mastery, um, creativity, actually doing something with the enlightenment that you get, like building something tangible, not just having these thoughts, creative thoughts, no, actually creating something. And then the other thing is curiosity, always questioning and being open. This is the flexibility, right? Being open to embrace other ideas or realities. And then progression, always looking to see how can I push myself to get to the next level, go beyond the limits of where I currently am, right? That's how I operate. That's how I show up in the world. So one of the hacks, if you're like, ah, man, I don't really know how to figure out my values, one of the things that we talked about with my friend was maybe you look at your weaknesses or your vices that are diametrically opposed to maybe your strengths. So they have to be related to each other. And and my suggestion was in the middle is where you would find maybe a core value. So for instance, I've worked a lot on not being an overachiever, somebody that, is doing the most, not just to prove to myself, but to other people that I'm competent, right? That I know what I'm doing, et cetera, versus the high achiever that's always going to do the best that I can and strive to go beyond, usually over deliver, but in a sense, not from an overachiever's perspective, but more so to exceed expectations. That's just who I am. But if you exceed expectations to the point that, causes anxiety or whatever the case is, you slip into that shadow of overachievement, because who are you doing that for? For you or for somebody else? And so I think those shadows or those weaknesses, those vices, whatever you want to call it, I think that they can actually, when you boil it down, it starts to focus more so on you versus the other side, the strength. It's now serving other people. Now, of course, you need to pour into yourself and self-care, but this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this reality that when you continue to serve yourself because there's some insecurity that needs to be met versus knowing who you are, knowing your strengths, and then taking, in this case, that would be that value of competency. And you can see how it's on that scale, right? On that spectrum. And you're using it to deliver for a client, or you're using it to improve or to transform, I don't know, your body or whatever the case is. So for me, in the middle of that, between those two, it's achievement. And what is it about achievement that I value so much? In this case, it would be mastery, right? Competence, to be able to hit something and not just hit the bar, but maybe go beyond it. So you can even argue that achievement could be a core value. But for me, behind the achievement is understanding how I got there, is the mindset, is the ability to take skills, hone those skills, and then take my life or a project or whatever to the next level. All right. So that was like one of the hacks. Think about a weakness, think about a strength, and what's in the middle is probably going to be what I would consider a value. And what that means is that values are neutral, not necessarily positive or negative. They're neutral in how you show up with that value. If you're showing up to fulfill an insecurity, or if you're showing up to better yourself and other people, it's still the same value, y'all. That was the deal. Okay, so then we go from there, and I was thinking about just decisions that we have to make for this year. And I think that one of the things that we were kind of just talking about is making better decisions. And I came across this email. I usually get this HBR, the Harvard Business Review kind of management tip of the day every morning. And so this one showed up yesterday. I was like, you know what, this is actually a great way to tie everything together. And that's what this stream particularly is about. So I know we just talked about values for a little bit, but that's the recap that I went over on LinkedIn yesterday. And so here it is, the five strategic questions that you should ask yourself. So the first one, and these all have a motif of what's. So the word what is going to be in each of these questions. So the first type of strategic decision-making is called the investigative decision-making. The question that you would ask is what's known. And so here they break it down by saying when facing a problem or opportunity, the best decision makers start by clarifying their purpose, asking themselves what they want to achieve and what they need to learn to do so. It's like clearing the path, making it supremely, well, I shouldn't say straight. The path wouldn't necessarily be straight, but making it clear so that you know where you are, where you need to go, and then what needs to happen in order to get from point A to point B. That's the what's known. Give me the facts. Let's have a sense of awareness. Where are we as a team or as an individual? But what am I looking to do? Like, what's the purpose? Where do I need to go? How do I need to get there? Right. The how do I need to get there isn't as the focus isn't as much on that one because there's another strategic one that actually talks about that. But the point is, you're asking yourself, like, what's known? All right. All right. So there's that one. Now, the next one, so that's the investigative decision making. The next one is speculative. What if? Listen, some of us don't ask what if enough. Like, we are simply just, and hold on, I'm going to switch over here, hop in the comments just in case, because, y'all might be out here. Okay. Nobody commented yet. All right, cool. Some of us don't ask what if enough. That curiosity, right? My personal value, my core value of curiosity. So with the speculative strategic decision making, these questions help you consider the situation at hand more broadly, reframing the problem and exploring outside the box solutions, right? Sometimes you need to think outside of the box. But other times with investigative, it's not about what's outside of the box, it's what's in the box. What's already there, and why do we need to make this particular decision? So when you think of investigative, think of the purpose, like what's known, clarifying what's the meaning, right? What's the goal? And then how you're going to get there. The speculative is what might be all the ways that we actually, the what might be all the ways is one of the questions we cover in the creative problem solving process. In the creative problem solving process, it's really designed to get people to get out of their heads and to get on these sticky notes and to just ideate, generate lots of ideas. As a matter of fact, I went to a conference a little over 10 years ago now, where they said, as soon as you hit 50, that's when you actually start to begin coming up with some ideas. I said, wow, that's crazy. These are individuals, creative consultants is what they call them, that show up to these, agencies, probably, individuals that are, stuffy gray suits type, but they're spending lots of money, investing lots of money for these people to come in, because people typically are, when they're in that kind of work environment, it's not creative at all. It's to use the word corporate, it's more bureaucratic. They're looking for the safe answers. So they're asking, or they're coming up with safe ideas versus off the wall thinking and just kind of being vulnerable. Well, a lot of that has to do with psychological safety in the workplace, right? But the point is, they'll bring these people in, paying them lots of money to get people to just feel more comfortable generating and ideating ideas, connecting with each other. So there are things like serious play where you're, playing with Legos or just doing different activities to just really start to get the mind to almost think like a child again. Not even almost, honestly, think is thinking like a child again, because the older that we get, the more uh, beliefs we kind of hold on to, and it gets more and more difficult to start to think outside the box. So that's speculative decision making. When you ask yourself, what if? And the reason why you'd ask yourself what if for better decisions is because maybe you're doing a particular routine and you might ask yourself, well, what if I did it this way in 2025? What might be the result? All right. So kind of keep that in mind. All right. The third one is productive. We've got the productive decision making framework. And with the productive, we ask ourselves, now what? So we've got what's known, what if, and now what? This is the one that personally I will be focusing on in 2025. Now, of course, all of these are important, but sometimes you just got to take one and run with it. And then you can, kind of include the other ones later on. So for the productive, you're assessing the availability of talent, capabilities, time, and other resources that ultimately help you determine a course of action. That's where I'm at. I haven't fully subscribed to the word of the year just yet, but it might be amplify. After talking to one of my good friends, we did a whiteboarding session. Amplify just might be the word. Why? Because I understand the talent. We're talking about personally now. I understand the talent, what I've got, skill sets. I understand my capabilities, the bandwidth that I have, my time, the resources, the tools that I have available, even the ones that I invested in just even today. So yesterday, I'm going to put a little pin in this. Yesterday, I actually looked at whether or not I should invest in the pro version of StreamYard and some other tools. And I said, no, just hit the live button and just go on one platform and just go. The challenge with that is, at least going live on that one platform, is using StreamYard. You can't record the videos, like, it's the free version, so you're getting the job done, but just on one platform. And later on today, I was thinking about, okay, so how can I do this workaround where I can be on this platform, while still using the free version? And I realized that my time was more precious than making the investment to just hit the live button one time, go live, and go everywhere at the same time. It just wasn't worth it. It was not for me. It wasn't worth it to find the different, hacks and tricks to, get on this platform and then have to do the same thing again, which is why I'm actually doing this live again, right? But this time I'm actually testing it out, which makes for great content. But doing the live again here and doing the live again here, and that's just a waste of time. So I decided to bite the bullet, y'all. For those of you that are watching, and yesterday I was like, listen, go basic until you really need to adjust. Well, I made a decision. Talking about productivity, right? The productive strategic decision making. What was more important? Well, time is one of the resources that I really am going to be over indexing on. And for that, I want to make sure that the tools that I'm using helps to maximize my time. So it made sense to make that investment. Now, here's the thing. I didn't invest. First of all, they gave me a trial version. It's kind of like hey, welcome back, come back. So I got this trial version for their advanced tier, right? So I'm gonna rock it out for a week and see, do I really need all of those things? Am I streaming on more than 3 platforms? Because I think that's the mid tier, the light tier, I think, because that's the one I'm leaning towards. Do I need 4K video resolution? No, I don't. At least I don't think I do. So for me, this is where I'm maximizing what I have. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just wring every ounce of talent, skill, time, like resources, just wring it all out, so that what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to get to a certain point where I can be like, okay, you know what? It's time to maximize. All right. Okay, cool. So the fourth one is interpretive strategic decision making. So we go from what's known, investigative, what if, speculative, now what, just for productive, that's the one that I'm going to be in, to so what, which is interpretive. So this natural follow-up can push you to continually redefine the core issue, to go beneath the surface and draw out the implications and the implications of an observation or of an idea. You don't want to spend too much time in the interpretive. Interpretive is kind of similar. It's adjacent to speculative, the what if. But this one, what it does is it gives you the ability to push beyond what's known and to start looking at, okay, so if we were to do this, what might the ramifications be? If we were to do this, what would the impact of our team or of myself, like if you're doing this for your personal decision making, what would those things be? So you're diving deep. Here's the thing. You don't want to dive deep indefinitely, because you'll start to navel gaze. You'll just start to overthink and overanalyze, but you'll never take action. And that's what you want to do. You want to be able to pull the trigger on something, take the action, right? Go for it. And then the last one is subjective. What's unsaid, right? So we've got what's known, what if, now what, so what, what's unsaid. And with this what's unsaid, subjective strategic decision making, this final question leads or deals with the personal reservations, the frustrations, the tensions, the hidden agendas that can push decision making off course altogether. I mentioned this yesterday. These are where the moneymakers are. The individuals in companies that are making high level decisions, they consider this right here. They consider the what's unsaid. Some have a gift for it, some have a knack, some are trained to do it. And, just through sheer experience in a particular role, you get to understand through trial and error and through situations that happen. Man, I should have considered X, Y, and Z. The subjective is super important. Okay. So the high level, now it's not always, high level, but high level impact and decision makers. Yeah. C-suite people. Yeah. Directors. Yeah. Managers. Yeah. Like y'all are in this arena right here. Why? Because this is what kind of keeps not just the operation running, but it keeps people together. Tensions, frustrations, reservations, you have to be able to address, not just to consider and to be aware of those things, but then to address them. Can you imagine the people that consider and understand that there are frustrations, but then they don't do anything with it, about it? They don't delegate to kind of, rally the troops, or whatever the case is, behind a new vision or a change that's happening. All right. So those are the 5, everyone. We've got the investigative strategic decision making. We've got the speculative. What if? Think outside the box a little bit. We've got the productive. That's where we're at. We're taking what we already done. And it doesn't mean that you were never productive. It's just saying that this is the framework and you're going to get even more or be even more productive. We've got the interpretive. We have to go a little bit deeper beneath the surface and start looking at the implications, the ramifications of certain decisions that would be made. And then we've got the subjective. It's so funny that the subjective seems like the easiest one, like it's the one that's the least, it's the most abstract. But that's also the one where I truly believe, at least in the corporate world or maybe professionally, where a lot of these decision makers, that's what they get paid to do. They get paid good money for that. All right. So anyway, that's where we're at. We've got these 5 strategic decision making aspects. And I think that that's all that I covered. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, at some point, I don't know if I can like end the stream for like one, like individual platform at a time, because that's what I'm kind of thinking of doing here. So even though this is a test, right? 2025, we're live in 25. I'm also thinking about whether or not, like, if I still wanted to stream on one particular platform, but not drag things out in another based on just how, like we're talking about, certain types of content is better for certain platforms, what that would look like. So I'm going to test it out. I'm going to say good riddance to those of you that are on, let's see, on YouTube. Let's test it out on YouTube. So I'm going to X that one out, see what happens there. And I'm going to stay on X and Twitch and see how that works out. All right. All right. So for my YouTube people, see you all in the next stream. Oh, wait, hold on. If I remove this destination from the stream, oh, it actually removes it. Like it removes it from, like, the entire post gets removed from YouTube. Oh, okay. Oh, we can't do that. We're not going to do that. Okay, cool. Okay. Well, I just rock with it. We'll just have a long stream. That's it. Or long-ish. All right. That's all right. Cool. Okay. So while I'm also just kind of testing out what this looks like, I'm going to check out Twitch right quick. Just kind of want to see what that's looking like. Oh, looks like we got a viewer. All right. Shout out to the person that's in Twitch. Holla at your boy. Okay. What if the viewers actually me? Because I've got like 5 Twitch tabs open. What if I'm watching myself? That could be it too, y'all. That could be it. But all right. Okay. The next thing that we can actually go through while I'm kind of testing out this streaming platform, the multi-stream kind of situation, is looking at what's the probably the most effective aspect or domain that you should maybe focus on in 2025. You're human beings. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there's only going to be one thing, right, that you're going to focus on in your life, but you can break it down. As a matter of fact, let's take a look. Let's look at the different domains that we have of I'm going to put it personal development. I don't think it's called personal development, but let's see. We've got the physical domain, right? So let's talk about physical health. We've got the social domain, Some of y'all need to get out a little bit more, right? We've got the spiritual domain, right? So that's three. What I don't see here is financial. For sure, there's a financial domain. Okay. Um, there's probably, I know I'm missing some. Career, vocational. So the vocational domain, that would be five. Avocational. So avocational, I guess, would be like maybe the hobbies, things that you would spend time on, but you're not necessarily making money from, or um, volunteering, things like that. And yeah, we I would say yeah, because they have here cognitive, emotional. That's not necessarily what we're looking for. So I want to take a look here. Financial domain, physical domain. And I think when I start putting this in, it's probably going to give a list. 7 dimensions of wellness. All right. Mental, physical, social, financial, spiritual, environmental, and vocational. I know a little something. Right? I hit on the maybe 5 out of the 7 of these. The one that we missed was environmental and mental, mental and environmental. All right. So with mental wellness, what's interesting? If we take a look at this, so like for instance, last year, I had a coach for maybe 3 or 4 out of the 7 domains. For the mental, and still do for the mental, for the physical, um, for the vocational, and this year I want to focus on the financial, spiritual. I don't know about spiritual coaching or mentors. I mean, I do have friends and people I connect with, right, in the spiritual realm. So maybe that kind of, but I don't have like a spiritual, I don't like to use the word guru, but spiritual person that's just there. I know in faith-based communities, you'd have pastors or you'd have priests, or so technically, I guess that could be considered a coach per se. But what they okay, and then yeah, they have social here. Environmental is interesting. The difference between environmental and social. Let's see. So environmental wellness is obviously how your environment positively affects your wellness. It includes incorporating nature. And you're like, okay, all right, cool. Nature. So on the last vacation that I went to, I really over-indexed on hydrotherapy. So like somatic therapy was a big part of my 2024, and I think I'm going to do more of it. It's one thing to just kind of sit down and talk things out with a therapist, but it's another thing when you can just like feel, and that's another type of therapy as well, right? The somatic side. And so hydrotherapy was major. Spas, that was really a big thing too. And I didn't realize how much stress my body had I guess built up, the tension that's built up just from last year. It's crazy how when you don't take breaks, or it gets stored somewhere, and if it's not stored in your mind, which it's kind of weird to say that, but some of us are really great at compartmentalizing stress and things like that. It gets stored in the body, right? So something interesting to think about with environmental wellness versus mental wellness. When I was thinking of environmental, I was really thinking of social wellness, because it's like, you're in a particular space, but no, social is more dealing with people. So it's the community and those around us. It includes healthy relationships, communication skills, support systems. Okay. All right. That makes sense. And this is interesting. So here the topics may include healthy transitions, isolation, healthy relationships. I think they just mentioned that. An adjustment to change. So versus environmental, which is really the actual world around you, not the people around you, but the space around you. Oh, okay. Okay. I could see that. I could see that. Okay. All right. While we are kind of here, I want to see if we can pull up and answer any questions. So let's uh, let's see if we can create some questions around these. Let's see. I'm gonna type in here just to create some compelling questions around these five strategic decision making aspects. And I see now why it makes sense why people start to kind of share their screens too on live. It makes sense to kind of see what you're doing, and it might be something that I will have to end up doing. I think so. So let's see. All right. Okay. So for what's known for the investigative, we've got where you can ask like asking yourself what specific outcomes are we trying to achieve and how will we know when we've succeeded. It's interesting. In previous client work that I've done, consulting work that I've done, so those are the first questions that I ask is when we've met the goals, when we've hit the metrics, how would you know if we were to trip over it, what would that look like? So making it super clear there is super helpful for the investigative section. Credibility and limitations. How reliable is the information that we have, and what might be leading to bias or misunderstanding? Who in the organization has untapped insights or a different angle on the situation? This is different from the productive. In the productive decision making framework, it's talking about like the resources and the talents and the people, but it's more so for somebody to get the job done. This is now focusing on the insights so that you can have a different perspective before you make the decision. And can I just say that if you're doing all of this work but you're not actually taking action, then it doesn't matter. Yeah, like it's gotta matter, y'all. It's gotta matter. Make it count. Make it count. What else have we got here? So for speculative, remember that's the what if, thinking about alternative or alternate possibilities. What if we approach the problem from an entirely different angle? Could we flip our assumptions? In the creative problem solving process, there is this framework called Scamper. I'm going to look it up because I can't remember what they're all called, but what they all mean. Scamper, I know, is like what can we substitute? Here we go. What can we combine? What can we adapt? What can we modify? What can we put to another use? What can we eliminate? And then what can we reverse? So this is where, like with substitute, where you kind of talk about replacing a part, maybe material or process with something else. With combine, you're obviously joining elements, but it can be ideas, it can be functions in new ways. Remember, sometimes it's difficult for the speculative section when you're like, well, how do I even think outside of the box? Well, there are frameworks for frameworks. And so with the Scamper framework, for instance, the adapt, where you can modify something or tweak something to suit a new purpose, or for a person, or for context. Now, adapt isn't the same as modify. So even though they may use the same language, modify is really like what can we enlarge, reduce, change the shape of, maybe alter the attributes, maybe make a small change. Adapt is more so taking something to create a new purpose for it, right? So you're taking something from here and you're going to put it here, and then it will suit the new purpose for that, versus enlarging something and modifying, changing it there, but the purpose and everything is still on this side. So that's really the difference between adapt and modify. P, put to another use. That's kind of similar to adapt now, right? Rather than changing the thing itself, right? Rather than modifying it, you're going to consider changing the context that it exists in. So instead of think about the environment versus the social. So instead of changing the thing or adapting the thing, we're adapting or changing the environment for the thing to probably be different in. That's interesting. So instead of touching the problem or the solution, you're kind of reframing the context around that altogether. Ah, I- that's like borderline going into like delusion land too, though. Nothing exists. We're just gonna just treat everything as if it's all beautiful, and then the thing shall become different. And it's hey, whatever. Scamper. Eliminate. This is a good one. I think I came across somebody who talked about like some of their efficiency kind of processes, and the first thing that they do is removing something. Like, what can we remove all the way? Like, before even changing something, what can be removed? So that's eliminating something. Simplifying is also a part of eliminate too. So basically, eliminating the complexity of the thing, and then reverse, which is where you flip the script, you reorder the priorities, you invert the cause and the effect. Just kind of turn the whole thing upside down. So, some good stuff here. Some good stuff here, y'all. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go back to, all right. So the questions that I would probably ask myself in the productive decision making section. The now what? Doing like a resource assessment. So I'd ask myself, what skills, what tech do I have at my disposal right now? How can I best deploy them? A great example is I'm using StreamYard. And on the platforms that I'm using right now is Twitch, YouTube, X, right? LinkedIn in the future. Also, I have a microphone. I've got a camera. I have I don't even know what this is called anymore, but the microphone is connected to the Zoom audio interface. So this isn't going directly into a computer. It's going into an audio interface that I have to manually control the volume and adjust things. And then that interfaces with the computer, so the computer can actually register this as an actual microphone. Same thing with the camera. I've got a secondary monitor. All right, I've got a keyboard, mouse. So yeah, as opposed to typing on the computer, like I have my setup closer to me. So yeah, we've got some tools here, y'all. Got a light situation because of how my this living room is set up, and I don't have curtains, but I have like these UV light curtains. I actually have, and I'm using, which is crazy. I'm actually using my the green screen, like the photo, what was it called? The collapsible green screen that I used to use when I did a lot of green screen back during the pandemic days. Oh my goodness. I'm now using that as a shade so that when the sun kind of hits, because my apartment's facing west, when the sun hits, it's not going to have this crazy glare. And would have to then manually adjust the cameras and everything, and even the ring light. Like right now, let me see if I turn the ring light off, y'all. Like it's not that bad, but then if it gets cloudy, it'll get dark. And so this right now, until I and I'm not gonna get any blackout curtains or anything like that, y'all. People crazy out here. Like, I'm keeping it, once again, as minimal as possible. If I don't have to pay for it this year, if I don't got to pay for it, I ain't paying for it. Before 2024 and everywhere, every year before, I paid for it. Pay for it easily. But now I'm just like, we got too much tech out here. I got too much tools. Use what you got. Get into the bag that you already have. Set things up. Jerry rig if needs be. But if it's getting in the way of production or productivity, then maybe consider investing. That's the only way I would consider investing. If it gets in the way, I'm going to be using the money in the investment to just get things out of the way so that I can produce more easily, right? Let's see. What else do we look at here? Roles and responsibilities. Who is best positioned to take ownership of each critical task or milestone? It's going to be me. Measuring the progress. So here's where, you got maybe some KPIs, some key metrics. And how will we hold ourselves accountable? How will I hold myself accountable to these things? Right now, I mean, I haven't really said this out loud, but yesterday I said, I will see y'all tomorrow. And I'm here, but I'm not on LinkedIn. I said, I'll see people on LinkedIn tomorrow. So I guess I have to get on LinkedIn too. The point is, I'm thinking of a daily routine of videos. Why? Because I can think of two reasons. The first one is I'm good at it. The setup is the setup. I don't have to take time to set things up, tear things down, set things up, tear things down. So it's easy to just show up and hit the live button, right? StreamYard makes that super easy too. The second reason is tied to the first reason. Not only am I good at it, but actually I think my first reason is probably both of them tied together. The first reason, it's easy. So this is that, it's easy. But then the second reason is I'm good at it. So for a lot of people, writing is the thing, right? Because they're really great at writing. I'm great at writing too. But you know what I believe? This is what I've kind of tested out. I've workshopped this last year. I can take the videos that I have, and then I can, use a transcription service that allows it to extrapolate, to pull out the ideas that I've created, and then to organize those ideas that I did, and then I can go back and edit it to create the written content. So now we've got two pieces of content. And I kind of like that a little bit more than just writing. So I'm going to more than likely do more video, just more of everything. It sounds so haphazard, but more of everything, but starting with the videos. And then being able to use that content later on and turning it into, flipping it, scamper, reversing, flipping it into something else. All right. Actually, that's a good example of scamper. Like, how can I use the video content? Like, what can I substitute? What can I modify? Interesting. All right. For those of you that want to focus on the moneymaker realm, subjective, what is unsaid? Want to look at some hidden motivations. Are there unspoken fears, ambitions, tensions that can hinder a decision or erode trust? Do any team members have any concerns that they haven't voiced, and why they might be reluctant to speak up? That's a bigger one. Not just that there are concerns that haven't been voiced, but why haven't they voiced those concerns? Competing agendas. Are there conflicting priorities or power dynamics at play that need to be surfaced? And let me tell you something. As the higher up you go, the more bureaucratic and political it gets. Because really political, by political, I mean you're dealing more and more with the ideologies and the beliefs and the movements of people, how they think about things and how they move in the company. The lower you get, not that, people are beneath them, but from a hierarchical org chart flow standpoint, they are. The lower you get, it's about the production of the thing, whatever it is, service, product, whatever. What's the quality of it, right? But the higher you go, you start getting into the feelings of individuals and how that affects the operation, and how the operation then matriculates into the actual people that are doing the manual labor, whatever that manual labor is. By the way, it doesn't always have to be something that deals with like blue collar work. No, the manual labor could be a consultant, right? That's actually sitting across from a client and delivering value. Okay. Competing agendas, right? So we talked about that. Also, emotional underpinnings. Very similar, I think, to personal reservations. Which personal values or experiences are shaping perceptions and influencing final decisions? So, yeah. All right, y'all. I think I'm going to wrap this up. Let me see for how long. How long have we been going on for? We have been on for... what's our time looking like here? Okay, almost 45 minutes. All right, not bad. We'll see. I think that for the long form video content, I think Twitch might be the move. I really don't see YouTube for that. At least not for how I think I'm going to show up, like how I'm going to deliver this content. I think it's going to be like this. And X, I'm on the fence. I think both can happen. Both could work out. Yeah. So, okay. I'm going to wrap this up. I will see you guys on the next stream. I think I definitely will be on LinkedIn later on this evening, though, for sure. All right. So, well, before I go, guys, I want to see if I can post something on the lower third. Why not? Let's just test this all out together, right? Let's see. Oh, okay, here we go. That's where it was. Okay. So the banners are here. I think the challenge that I had was that I was looking for looking for banners without being in a folder. And I think that's what my issue was. Okay. But I really thought that there was another way that I can create, some sort of banner or lower third without it having to be in an actual folder, but I guess not. So, I'm gonna make this social URL banners. Okay. All right. So for this first one, I'm going to send you guys, if you have not done it yet, there is a website called yearcompass.com. And boom. This is pretty much an expansion of what I've already been doing with my yearly planner. My yearly planner is already kind of mapped out for Q1, well, really for the entire year, and then kind of breaking it down for Q1. But this right here, this is not mine, by the way. So I'm giving free, I guess, advertising for this particular website, this particular company. Really great. They have a deep dive into 2024. You got to go through week by week, thinking about major events, people, whatever that you've encountered, and it's really been impactful for your 2024. And then there's a reflection, and that's not the only thing that, by the way, that you do in the reflection piece. But then after the 2024 reflection, there's the kind of envisioning of what you're looking to do in 2025. It's 20 pages. It's a 20-page booklet. Don't let that scare you. I think that even if you go 50% of the way, you're probably doing more than 95% of the people who just kind of walked into 2025, probably stumbled, after their celebration, right? And are just like, I'm gonna work out more. I'm gonna, eat better. Whatever it is, and they have no structure, right? They have no system in place. The goal isn't written down, right? So I would just kind of keep that in mind. Year compass, I think, would be great. Scroll across the bottom. Let's see, what does that look like? Scrolling it across the bottom. Let's try. Oh, well, I thought it was gonna actually, like, literally scroll across the bottom. Let's see. Let's try again. Yearcompass.com. Oh, and then it becomes a ticker. You actually have to. Got it. Interesting. Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay. So I now know. So then I can actually edit it to scroll, so that when I save it and add it, it actually does that. Okay. All of this stuff that I got to relearn, y'all. At one point, I knew how to do it. And so, yeah. But like I like to say, we back. I guess if I like to say we back, that means that I usually go and then come back, right? Yeah. Okay, y'all. Gonna end the stream. If by some miracle there is somebody that is, on here that has a burning question, which is the one viewer that I really think is me. Speak now, forever hold your peace. Your peace has now been held. I'll see y'all on the next stream, y'all. This is fun. I think I'm going to do this again. Yeah. I know I'm going to do this again. And yes, I'm dragging this out just a little bit. Why? Because first of all, I can. You can always just leave. But secondly, there's something about, at least right now, lingering that I kind of, I don't know why. I kind of like, I like this lingering. I don't know. Anyway, let me stop lingering. I'm gonna let y'all go. How do I end? Okay, right there. See y'all later.